We come from the land of the ice and snow to talk to you about becoming Led Zeppelin. This is a documentary about Led Zeppelin, hence the title. It has been in IMAX theaters for the past week, but now it is expanding to other theaters. So we're here to talk about it with you. That handsome gentleman you see is Dave White. It's Alonso's husband. Unfortunately, Alonso is not feeling well. So Dave is here to share his wisdom on Led Zeppelin. Dave, welcome.
Thank you very much. Alonso has several maladies taking place all at once.
You are a very kind-hearted and generous nurse.
I am, yes.
Get him all the drugs.
Yeah.
All the NyQuil. So thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Subscribe if you have not, because we do a lot of documentary reviews here. Not a lot of channels do, but something that we love. And we think that you'll be interested in these that we're talking about today. So come hang out with us if you have not.
If you don't crack it here, it's over.
So we were going to go in there like with a hatchet.
Okay, so becoming Led Zeppelin is about how they became Led Zeppelin. This is from director Bernard MacMahon, and you have the participation of the remaining members of Led Zeppelin. So that's Robert Plant and Jimmy Page and John Paul Jones. Of course, John Bonham passed away in 1980. So he is not physically here, but we have some never before heard audio of an interview with him. So that is kind of exciting. If you love Led Zeppelin, you're going to love this. You know, basically it's early footage of them in, getting together, their early noodlings in music, how they all found each other, how they kind of emerged from the Yardbirds and established their own sound. And it's them all the way through making Led Zeppelin 2. And so it ends a little abruptly, but those couple of hours there when you're with them, I thought were thrilling. Like if you love this band, or even if you just enjoy their music somewhat, seeing this, especially in IMAX, is like going to a concert. I mean, it's great. Like I had a blast. I don't know about you, I went to a matinee on a Tuesday at 12:45 p.m. in Torrance, and it was freaking packed with boomers.
Well, I went yesterday in the torrential downpour. I went to the Grove here at 11 o'clock in the morning, and our friends, the baby boomers, were all there, but it was not packed because it was 11 o'clock in the morning and there was a millions of rains falling from the sky.
We're not ready for it here.
People don't want to go anywhere when it's doing that. But I, valiant substitute teacher, I went to see it.
So good.
I was 6 years old, roughly in 1970. Okay. So my experience of Led Zeppelin has always been sort of secondhand. When you're 6, you like the Partridge Family. If it's 1970, you do not care about the heavy rock sounds with the long-haired people who look like they might stab you. And so you don't care about that as a child. So growing up, they were always sort of, oh yeah, them. They were huge. I was into punk in the 80s. I went straight from, bubblegum pop and disco to punk rock. And so I skipped all of that stuff. Yeah. It wasn't until adulthood that I began to appreciate who they were. And this film is, I think, very helpful in laying out. It's called Becoming Led Zeppelin for a reason. You get their childhoods, you get their teenage years, and all of that information about who they were before the band was fascinating to me, because what I learned is that John Paul Jones and Jimmy Page, they weren't just kids in high school. They were working session musicians, recording with Shirley Bassey and Lulu. And
I had no idea.
All those folks. And so you see Jimmy Page being in the Yardbirds, and then you watch him develop a master plan. Like he's the leader, right? He's the guy who sat down and summoned the Dark Lord of the satanic magic, left out of the film, by the way. And he said, I've got a plan. I'm a good session musician. You are a good session musician. There's this guy over here who I think is he can sing. He's very tall and good looking, so that'll help. And then we get this drummer, and we're going to be a band. It was very, very planned on Jimmy Page's part. Like he had a vision for what he wanted to do.
Yeah, I had no idea about any of that either. And then, like, if you love process, which I do, which we usually do around here, Alonso does, like watching Jimmy Page talk about how he mixed Led Zeppelin 2, or watching him talk about how he gets certain sounds out of his guitar, I thought was really cool. And Robert Plant too, talking about how his strengths as a songwriter evolved and what his inspiration was, you know, like Lord of the Rings or whatever. Like hearing him talk about that is really cool. They do this thing in this movie too, because John Bonham is no longer alive. They do something kind of similar to the tactic that they used in The Last Dance with Michael Jordan. Did you ever watch that?
No.
So there's a thing that they had Jordan do in this miniseries where like he'd sit and look at something on his iPad, like an old clip of something, an old interview of someone talking about him, and then he would react to it. And so they're kind of doing that here as well, where they have these guys seeing footage of themselves that they've never seen before,
right,
or hearing John Bonham's voice, and they all get emotional. Like you see, like they're trying to be like stiff upper lip, cool, you know, British people, but like Robert Plant's moved. You see his eyes well up. So like that emotion of it is really cool. The flip side of this is, no pun intended, that because they are participating in it and because they have allowed all the use of the music, it is not a hard-hitting, deep-digging documentary. Like we're not really going into drug use or whatever, like demons. It is a celebration of how freaking awesome they were and how influential, and just some really cool old archival footage. Like there's some black and white TV show that go on in Denmark called Teen Club. Yes. Teen Club is not ready for Led Zeppelin.
No, they are not.
So to see the reaction of all these people in the audience, like, what am I watching? Like those moments are really enjoyable. And again, like if you can see it in IMAX, it's like going to a concert. If you can have that sound, like they crank it up and it's so fun. How did you feel about hearing it super loud?
I expected it to be very loud.
Good.
So that was fine. Regarding the John Bonham interview, the audio interview, very, very sweet from him, because near the very end, not a spoiler, they're hearing this interview with him for the first time. As you said, they're all being played footage on laptops and, you know, audio recordings. And he talks very lovingly about all of them. He says, I love them all so much. Yeah. And we are a family. And we've always been great friends. Like we've never had fights and all this stuff. And I thought that was very moving, because you could see the guys being, you know, moved by this. Now,
decades later.
Regarding your comment about no scandal. Yeah, they are legacy building here right now. They are not. If you want to hear from Miss Pamela, go read I'm with the Band. If you want to hear about the Riot Hyatt, which by the way I can see from my dining room window, you can go read Hammer of the Gods. There are any number of sources out there that will explain to you the depravity of Led Zeppelin. Yeah. And it was there, and they did it. Whatever it was, and a lot of it was pretty bad, they did it.
Yeah.
But it's not here. Here they are elder statesmen. They are taking their victory lap, because if not now, when? Yeah. And it's, you know, who knows? Maybe there'll be like a part 2 where it's like staying Led Zeppelin, being Led Zeppelin. Because if you think you're going to hear Stairway to Heaven, you ain't. You're getting Led Zeppelin and Led Zeppelin 2. The end. Goodbye. We're finished. We became Led Zeppelin. Aren't you happy?
Yeah. And a lot of times we talk about, when we do music documentaries here, if the person is still alive and agrees to this and provides the access, or the estate provides access to the catalog, it is so often sanitized. It is kind of superficial. It's kind of worshipful. That was true of the Luther Vandross documentary recently, you know? And so it's the trade-off that you make. If you want to do a movie about Led Zeppelin, you need Led Zeppelin's music. How do you get Led Zeppelin's music? You get them to sign off on it. They are notoriously very protective of it. And so that's the trade-off, but it's such a joyous film and like so thrilling and so entertaining. And the music is so great that it's like, okay, I'm okay with this.
It is. Our friend Matt Seitz recently wrote an article about the problem with documentary that's happening right now. And the problem with documentary right now is that so often they are now built as like narrative features are built with plot beats and stuff like that. And with, as you said, the participation of the subject, so that the subject isn't being observed, the subject is helping to create. And therefore, the subject gets to say how it's all going to go. Like Frederick Wiseman making a documentary about Led Zeppelin, it's not going to be what you're seeing here.
Yeah.
So this is more like infotainment than it is pure documentary. And the fact is that there are enough fans out there, they won't care. You know, they just want to hear Whole Lotta Love in IMAX, and they're going to get it. So one interesting thing that I noticed about the shooting of the editing of the Whole Lotta Love sequence, you finally see the groupies. Now, were they actually the groupies, you know, in the most literal sense of the word? No, but you do see the camera cutting into lots and lots of hot young girls in the audience, which it had not yet been doing. Like the archival footage was often just, here we are on a stage, and here are some people in the audience going, you know, like, or they were dancing, like it was at the Whiskey, they were dancing. But during Whole Lotta Love, it cuts a lot to the young women, which is, I mean, that's what Whole Lotta Love is about. So I found that sequence of editing to be interesting and saying what wasn't going to be said.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's right there lyrically, you know, shake for me, girl. I want to be your backdoor man. I mean, what are we talking about here?
He wants to give you every inch of his love.
He does. So yeah, but we're talking also later on today about the Sly Stone documentary, which does get into some nitty gritty stuff. So that's an interesting contrast, which we will get into later.
Yeah.
Dave, what's your number on Becoming Led Zeppelin?
7.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll say 7.8 because I had a really good time. So if you are a fan, you're going to love
myself.
it.
Yeah.
Me too.
I can't say well, it's not like I learned anything other than, you know, Lulu was
I didn't know that they played on Goldfinger.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah. No, I didn't.
Who knew?
And so that was the most entertaining part for me. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Becoming Led Zeppelin is out there in theaters. Will you see it? Let us know.